When it comes to managing your company financially, what are some things that you can share with other ministry leaders, business owners, that if they asked you, coach me on this, this is not my area of strength. How do I steward and manage the finances? What are some principles that you have learned that you could share with those that are listening?
There's a lot of different ways we could go with that question. I might pick two directions. One is working not to get over your skis as you're building the business, and not accumulating more expenses than you have revenue. So a lot of that starts with data. So for me, getting our books closed in the first 5 to 7 days of the month, I've got good data around where our revenue is, where our payroll was, where our profit is, what our cash flow is huge. That's the bit that helps give me peace of mind.
Chris Dobkins, you and I have known each other for a while now, and we are certainly not strangers. We've been developing a friendship for a long time. When was it that you and I started connecting, one-on-one? Well, how long has it been since we've known each other?
I was just thinking about that when you said we've known each other for a while now. I was thinking, wow, that just glossed over a lot of life.
It did. But we'll backtrack.
It's just been a while.
You talk like two old guys.
Like back in 2001, 2002, that I got to start getting to know you as through Creekside as a pastor, and then in 2008, probably started connecting on a whole different level.
Yes.
And I think we've just been getting deeper and deeper.
2008 was one of the worst years of my life. And
right there with you.
Yeah. And so many different ways. I've learned a lot since then. And I know you have as well. And that's why I enjoy relationships so much. I've learned just how important it is to journey with people through the good, the bad, and the ugly, not to get a Boy Scout badge or anything, just because we need each other. And what brought us together was some what we'd call pastoral issues, and yet there was all kinds of economic earthquakes going on in the world at that time. And of course, here we are again in 2022. And if you have a lot of money in the stock market, and if you've come out of the pandemic unscathed, then all of these things are there. Chris, you started a company called Njevity. Spell that for us and give us the significance of that name, and then tell us a little bit about what Njevity is all about.
Yeah, so Njevity, it's Njevity. Njevity. It's the combination of the words ingenuity and longevity. And then we switched up the spelling to make it a little more interesting, and so that we could get the www for it.
There you go.
I very much wanted to have a name, a company name that would work at the end of the email address that wasn't like this long, or
like mine,
or wasn't like a bunch of initials.
Yeah,
right? That's
like
kind of in
mine.
our industry. The names are either really long or it's like 4 initials.
It's funny how it takes a while to figure that kind of stuff out. How many times have I given my email address to somebody, and half an hour later I'm thinking, yeah, I probably shouldn't have picked that. Jim@leadtoday.community.com. Yeah. Well,
well, and as you know, it's hard to find an internet domain that isn't already taken. So it was hard back in 2001, and so we just made up a word, and that's where the name Njevity came from. Our tagline at the time was creative solutions that endure, and so that was ingenuity and longevity.
Very good. I love it. When did you start the company?
I started it in 2001 as an office for a friend of mine. I had just moved to Colorado. I'd exited my first business and moved to Colorado. And a buddy of mine said, "Hey, why don't you open up an office for us in Colorado, doing, the same thing I could basically do now and what I had done in my first business." And I said, "Sure, sounds great." And he had just gotten acquired by a company out of Germany that was really trying to deepen their relationships with Microsoft. And after about a year and a half, I guess they decided they didn't want to deepen those Microsoft relationships anymore. So they said, "Hey, we're going to close the office. How about we move you to Atlanta or Toronto to work in our SAP practice?" And I said, "Gosh, I think I'd enjoy staying in Colorado. How about if I just acquire the office from you?" And so in 2003, I acquired the office from them, and that's when it got the Njevity name.
Got it. Great. Now tell us what does Njevity do?
Well, today we primarily help companies move their accounting and financial systems to the cloud. Since 1994, I've been involved in the business accounting software industry, helping businesses. When I started, we would help businesses select and implement new accounting systems. When I started, our big thing was helping people get off of DOS systems and onto Windows systems that did not have a year 2000 problem.
Right.
And so I've been involved in Windows-based accounting software for 26 years. We started doing that, and we still do that.
Yeah.
But in 2010, we made a pivot towards providing the accounting software through the cloud. So instead of installing the software on servers that a customer owns that are in their broom closet or sitting on their kitchen counter, or we even had some where the CFO had their server under their desk. Instead of having that kind of an environment, we own all the servers. We keep all the servers in a data center here in Colorado, and that way we can ensure that our customers have exceptional experiences with their software and all of the things that it takes to make that happen.
When it comes to managing your company financially, Chris, what are some things that you can share with other ministry leaders, business owners, that if they asked you, "Coach me on this is not my area of strength. Mm-hmm. How do I steward and manage the finances?" What are some principles that you have learned that you could share with those that are listening?
Man, from there's a lot of different ways we could go with that question, and I might pick two directions. One is working not to get over your skis as you're building the business, and not accumulating more expenses than you have revenue. So a lot of that starts with data. So for me, getting our books closed in the first 5 to 7 days of the month. So I've got good data around where our revenue is, where our payroll was, where our profit is, what our cash flow is huge. That's the bit that helps give me peace of mind, to help assuage that fear mindset that is constantly whispering in my ear to slow down. Right. That negative thing that happened in that, with the layoffs has programmed my amygdala to be afraid of growth. Right. Because we were growing and then we were running out of money. So we had to let people go. And so if I'm not careful, if I allow myself to listen to that voice, then we wouldn't hire more people. We would always wait too long to hire people. And so making sure I've got the right data is really important in helping me, tell that little voice to back off.
Before you go on, just to translate to those that are listening, when you say close the books, you don't just mean the task of closing the month, but you're talking about reviewing them, evaluating them, and noticing trends, so that you have the data to make management and leadership decisions.
Yep, exactly.
All right. What else?
Too many businesses will, go months before getting, the books closed. And, when you're look, financial statements are lagging indicators to begin with. So,
Yes.
they're, by their nature, it's looking backwards, not looking forwards. But, when that look back is 3 months ago, it's not very instructive. So making sure that you've got that data that's as fresh as it can possibly be is really important. So, I think the other way I would go with that question is, one of the things that I've learned, Jim Collins talks a lot about this in Good to Great, and Patrick Lencioni talks about it in many of his books, is the importance of having the right people on the bus, and making sure you got the right people on the bus, which means they align with your culture and your values, and then making sure that you've got those right people in the right seats is really important, and understanding when it's time to add the next seat is a big part of that as well. As the business is growing and the needs change, I kind of constantly have an idea of what our organization is going to need to look like next year. So by that, by seeing that, I know these are the positions that we need to hire, that we'll need in a year, and we're not hiring quite as reactively as we might. We're trying to make the hiring process more proactive, making sure we've got we've identified the right positions that we need. That was one of the mistakes that I made the first go around, was we didn't really have a plan for how we were hiring. We were hiring very reactively, and as a result, we ended up overstaffing.
Chris, this is really good. Answer this question for me from your perspective. When we read books like Good to Great and other stuff that both of these authors that you mentioned write, anybody who is serious about doing business, and for that matter, ministry well, these are must reads. These are like Bible reads, for them.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think? And then after you read them, you go, well, yeah, obviously. But what
I could just read Lencioni's books, like The 5 Dysfunctions of Team. I feel like I read that once a year, and every time I read it, I get something new out of it.
Is there something else I can help with?
Well, Siri must think we were talking to her.
Yeah, Siri does that. Siri just kind of pops in sometimes to these things. That whole IA is a whole nother podcast that we could do, because I know that you're very in touch with all this stuff. I might call you in the near future and say, I want to do something on the future of technology.
Yeah.
I think you would be a great person to talk to about that. But here was my question before Siri interrupted our conversation. What keeps leaders from doing this kind of stuff? Evaluating their finances, evaluating, do I have the right people on the bus, and do I have them in the right seats? Those two steps, because Covey would call this quadrant 2 activity, meaning not urgent but extremely important. Whereas, what are your views on it?
I think this is one of Covey's phrases, but to me, it's the tyranny of the urgent.
Mm-hmm.
As an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you wake up every day and you can spend your entire day putting out fires.